And I was like, Goodreads, seriously? You didn't want to tell me that you didn't want to show me the book because I screwed up the and a? Wow. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is Katrina Reads. This week I am taking part in Winterween, which is a readathon being hosted by Gabbyreads and Oliviareadsalatte. And it is also checking off one of my 2021 goals for this channel and for myself, just to be more involved in the reading community and the booktube, bookstagram community. I also did like my first Instagram story, I think, for reading. I may have done like a couple of other, like I just kind of dabbled where I took a picture of the book I was reading and then maybe put a filter over it. But this was the first time I like really put together something aesthetically pleasing, specifically for something I was taking part in the community, you know, tagging people and all that kind of stuff, planning out what I was doing and all of that. And so first let's go over what Winterween is. So Winterween is taking place January 4th through 10th. January 10th is my birthday, so I thought that was really cool as well. And so the prompts are: 1, read a book with haunt in the title. I am doing that by reading, I think it's their buddy read. I'm not sure if I saw that right. It's The Haunting of Bryn Wilder. Read a book with blue on the cover. I will be reading The Wife Upstairs. I am really excited about that book. It comes tomorrow. I pre-ordered it, and I'm going to be doing that by audio. And so I'll be reading that. I'll be listening to that. Read a book in the dark. I did that yesterday while reading the novella, which is number 5, so we will get back to that. So read a book in the dark was number 3. Number 4 is read a book in a winter setting, and I have a book called Murder in the Winter. And number 5 was read a novella or short story, which I chose Hazel and Gray. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now, because I was very, very excited about starting it. I wanted to start it right at midnight, and I wanted to kick it off with something that looked really charming. I mean, look at the cover. And it was a retelling of Hansel and Gretel, which is, you know, even the Disney-fied version, if there was a Disney-fied version, would still be kind of gross, you know. I gave it 2 stars, and I don't know, again, I don't know if that's fair. Let me know down in the comment box, like, how do you separate not having a good time with the book with the artistic and maybe even importance of a book? I feel like I encounter mismarketing of books a lot, and I know people need to get stuff sold and stuff like that, but I feel like, I don't know, is it too whiny to say every book needs a content warning? Is it my fault because I should have read the synopsis, whereas, you know, instead of making assumptions, and we all know what assumptions make you and me, you know. So I don't know if that's a fair star rating, but I was very disappointed in my first choice for this wonderful, I thought it would just be a modern version of a fairy tale. Now, this is the Goodreads synopsis. 2 anxious young lovers lost in the woods, a beckoning mansion in a dark clearing, a short modern day retelling of Hansel and Gretel by the #1 New York Times bestseller author of Dear Martin. It's bad enough that Hazel and Gray have defied the demands of Hazel's foul stepfather. The monster has forbidden their romance. Now they've awakened in the forest, phones dead, hours past curfew. But not far away is a grand estate in the middle of nowhere. The door is open. In this short story about choosing your own path, the fury of the monster that awaits them lies back at home may be nothing compared to what lies ahead. So Yeah, it's not a brother and sister. There was no charming, cottage. I think in the Grimm's, not in the Grimm's fairy tale, but the fairy tales that we kind of grew up with. I think in that cottage, wasn't it like cute and stuff? And then when it's made like a food they could eat, and then the witch that lived in the house used the cute cottage to lure children, and she baked them and ate them. That was so. It's already a horrifying story, but this was more Law and Order, SVU, Grimm's Brothers style. It was, there should be content warnings for child trafficking, drugging someone against their will. It was not what I expected. And so I think that might be my mistake, because I looked at the cover and I don't think I read the synopsis. I just saw Hansel and Gretel retelling. That's already a horrific story. It might be charming, like a Winterween idea charming, and look at this cover. I think that's all I thought. So I just finished The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins. It was number 2 for the prompt read, a book with blue on the cover. And it's also a retelling of Jane Eyre, which was interesting because that's already on my to be read list this month. So I was extra excited to read this book. I haven't given it a star rating yet. I'm immediately talking about it right after finishing it. And I don't know. Let me read the book description from Goodreads and then try to maybe talk through how I felt about the book. Meet Jane, newly arrived to Birmingham, Alabama. Jane is a broke dog walker in Thornfield Estates, a gated community full of McMansions, shiny SUVs, and bored housewives. The kind of place where no one will notice if Jane lifts the discarded tchotchkes and jewelry off the side tables of her well-heeled clients, where no one will think to ask if Jane is her real name. But her luck changes when she meets Eddie Rochester. Recently widowed, Eddie is Thornfield Estate's most mysterious resident. His wife, Bee, drowned in a boating accident with her best friend, and their bodies lost to the deep. Jane can't help but see an opportunity in Eddie. Not only is he rich, brooding, and handsome, he could also offer her the kind of protection she's always yearned for. Yet, as Jane and Eddie fall for each other, Jane is increasingly haunted by the legends of Bee, an ambitious beauty with a rags-to-riches origin story, who launched a wildly successful Southern lifestyle brand. How can she, plain Jane, ever measure up? And can she win Eddie's heart before her past or his catches up to her? All the characters were really unlikable. I didn't enjoy, there wasn't a real romance, because the whole time you could hear inside of Jane's head, and she just had a really caustic, biting voice. You knew she was stealing from everybody. You knew she was kind of judging everybody. You knew she wasn't romantic at all. This book read as one of those domestic thrillers where nobody's likable, that became really popular after Gillian Flynn's, after Gone Girl became popular, and everybody was just unlikable. I think part of it too is that, and I'll see if this is still my feeling, because like I said, I read Jane Eyre multiple times as a child, and there was this gothic mystery going on, but there was romance. Jane was a sympathetic character. She was smart. She loved Mr. Rochester for real. She wasn't stealing things. She was trying to, she was doing what she needed to do. Like, this Jane is a social climber, and she has this background that seems unnecessary, because again, if this is a Jane Eyre retelling, the fact that this Jane was a foster kid is the one-to-one comparison to Jane in our old Charlotte Bronte novel. And that's all you need. Why do we have to have this weird mystery that didn't really go anywhere with our present day Jane in this book? There was a creepy old roommate. He was half-heartedly trying to extort money out of her. That goes nowhere. So it was these weird extra back stories or side dramas that were unnecessary. They didn't go anywhere. They didn't add anything to the story. They just made you, they added to the air of ickiness about everything. The ending was, you know, it tried to be twisty, and it was surprising. I didn't know where it was going, but it wasn't a satisfying twist. I didn't care. I just wanted to hurry up and get out of these people's world. So I think I'm going to give this book a 2. I made it to the end. I wanted to like it. It's going to be interesting to get to the actual Jane Eyre, and so I'm going to try to write up some notes on this so that I can compare and contrast. So the book that I read before The Wife Upstairs was The Haunting of Bryn Wilder. This is the book that is the buddy read that Oliviareadsalatte and Gabbyreads will be doing a live show for on Saturday. So I'm excited for that. So excited to watch that. It also has Haunt in the title, and that was one of the prompts for Winterween. After a devastating loss, Bryn Wilder escapes to Wharton, a tourist town on Lake Superior, to reset. Checking into a quaint boarding house for the summer, she hopes to put her life into perspective. In her fellow lodgers, she finds a friendly company of strangers. The frail Alice, cared for by a married couple with a heartbreaking story of their own, Luann, the eccentric and lovable owner of the inn, and Dominic, the unsettling handsome man inked from head to toe in mesmerizing tattoos. But in this inviting refuge where a century of souls has passed, a mystery begins to swirl. Alice knows things about Bryn, about all of them that she shouldn't. Bad dreams and night whispers lure Bryn into a shuttered room at the end of the hall, a room still heavy with her recent death, and now she's become irresistibly drawn to Dominic, even in the shadow of rumors that wherever he goes, suspicious death follows. In this chilling season of love, transformation, and fear, something is calling to Bryn. To settle her past, she may have no choice but to answer. So, I gave this book 3 stars on Goodreads, but in actuality, it's 2.5 stars for me. It jumbles up genres. It's everything from a mystery to a paranormal to a romance to gothic. But in reality, it's about grief, it's about dissatisfaction, uncertainty, and how Bryn has to kind of figure out how to come to terms with all of those things and how to deal with those things, how to live with that, how to flourish with those feelings. There are a few twists in this story that I could see coming from a mile away, and I don't mind. I could see these surprises coming, and so that means something because it's very easy to surprise me. So I could see the twists and the surprises coming from this story really easy. I could also feel when the author was trying to push my emotions to a certain place. I could feel when the author was trying to be profound and was trying to make me go to a place. I wanted to go there with the author. I came to care for the characters. That is one thing that she did really well. Wendy Webb, she did it really well. She wrote characters that I really cared about, all of them. From the people we don't even see that often, the people who run the bar, from the little old lady with Alzheimer's, from the couple, there's a gay couple that's next door to Dominic and Bryn. And I cared about Bryn. I've cared about Bryn and Dominic. But I didn't feel I didn't, so that's, even worse, I think, that I couldn't feel the emotions for what was coming like the author clearly wanted us to feel. Like I said, I loved the atmosphere at the beginning. At the beginning, I liked the ghostly, mysterious happenings, but towards the middle and going on into the end, when I started to see where things were going, and then when she was trying to bring it on home at the end and trying to make it more profound and make it mean something, I just was like, no. And then and then as I was sitting there thinking about it, again, I don't do this. I don't sit there and think about all the holes and plot holes. I think it's obnoxious sometimes to do that, but there were so many, and they were glaring, and I'm like, wait a minute, what was that? Like, where did that go? I just wish she would have spent more time focusing on what she wanted the book to be. Like I said, she had, is it a gothic romance? Is it a paranormal ghost story? Is it a true haunting? Is it just a meditation on grief and a midlife crisis? And are you trying to tell that story through ghosts? Like Haunting of Hill House was the TV show. The ghosts were their addictions and their trauma. And so if that's what she was trying to do, that needed to be much more clear, and it wasn't. And I was along for the ride for that to be like, now that there's been the Haunting of Hill House is the standard bearer for me now, and so I'm ready for all the ghosts to mean something. And the way this book ends, she was trying to do something like that. So we've come to the end of Winterween, my first readathon of 2021, and it's my birthday. So yesterday I watched the live show of Oliviareadsalatte and Gabby Reads, dunking on the brand book, and I felt so much better because I was just like, is it me? There was a little bit of break in the videoing. My husband did my annual birthday dinner. It's always seafood, lobster and king crab legs, strawberry margaritas, and he dips strawberries. He dips strawberries in chocolate for me. So I have my second little margarita here. As we finish discussing Winterween, what I was saying before I was so wonderfully interrupted. So this one was called The Winter Garden Mystery. First of all, I have a complaint about Goodreads as I'm trying to learn to use Goodreads better. I wanted to show my husband. I told him about a character in this book. Is called Valeria, and because we are Game of Thrones nerds, I asked him, I said, did George R.R. Martin come up with any names that were I don't know, I thought Valeria was something totally made up by him, and Robert, my husband Robert, was just like, oh, like, when was this book published, And so I looked, I went in and I put in A Winter Garden Mystery, and I put in, and nothing came up. A Winter Garden Mystery, Carol Dunn, which is the author, nothing came up. And then I went through, I don't know how I finally came to it. I went to, he said, just Google it. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I Googled it. Google brought up the fact that it was The Winter Garden Mystery. And I was like, Goodreads, seriously? You didn't want to tell me that you didn't want to show me the book because I screwed up the and A? Wow. Anyway, that was just a side about Goodreads. Like, so The Winter Garden Mystery, cozy mystery. I knew it would be something that would put me in a better mood. Cozy mysteries almost never let me down. And this one didn't either. It just kind of flowed over me. It was cute, English, murder, gave me a couple smiles. There was a gay couple that was handled really well. And this book was written in 1995. So I think that's even cooler that even in 1995, this author handled the situation well. And you know how sometimes when people try to they will misuse people of color, people of different sexual orientations, or differently able people, and say, oh, it's just it's just, that's the way it was in those times. And this is a person who wrote this in 1995 about 1920, and she still gave the couple a good ending, treated them with care. So that was really surprising and cool. I gave this book 3 stars. It fulfilled the last entry into Winterween. And so my very first booktube goal for 2021 has been checked off. I am proud of myself. I did all of the prompts, and and this book, I guess this book, the live show, and then the fact that I just had like my favorite meal and some drinks have made me feel really good about it. Whereas when I started, I was disappointed because the books were just, they weren't doing it. They weren't hitting it. Anyway, Winterween, yes, be easy on yourself. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.